This is my 2013 Harley-Davidson Flhx Street Glide, and today I'm going to be reviewing it. I'm going to start by telling you about all of its quirks and features, and then I'm going to get it on the road to show you just how well this bike rides, and then I'm going to tell you about why I absolutely love this bike. I'm going to start my review up front of the motorcycle at the fairing. Now, the Street Glide was first offered starting in 2006, and it is very closely related to Harley's signature touring model, the Electric Glide. And in fact, the only couple things that separate a standard Street Glide from a Harley-Davidson Electric Glide are the absence of a tour pack on the back and lower leg fairings, at least for the Ultra Limited, down below. Now, if we take a look at the inside of the fairing, you can see all the information and readouts that are pictured here on the inside of the fairing. This includes information like the speedometer, the tachometer, your voltmeter, your oil pressure, your air intake temperature, as well as your fuel gauge. You can also see here in the center you've got your CD player, AM, FM. It also has intercom, available navigation, and a CD player. These handlebars are not stock. These are 10-inch polyaphy mini ape handlebars, and when I put these in, I also swapped out the bushings, got rid of the stock rubber bushings, and added some urethane bushings that have really helped with some of the vibration. The 10-inch polyaphy bars also allow a lot of room for things like a phone mount and a camera mount. Next, we're going to take a look below the 6-gallon gas tank at the 103 cubic inch twin cam 45-degree V-twin motor that powers this Street Glide. 103 cubic inches comes out to about 1,687-88 cubic centimeters, which is run through a 6-speed transmission delivering 100 foot-pound of torque at 3,500 RPM. Harley doesn't publish official horsepower numbers, but one of the modifications I've added to my Street Glide is a tune with the Vance & Hines FP3 tuner. It's a really neat little piece of tech that comes with a great app that allows you to customize the maps and the layouts inside the tuning of your motorcycle. It also gives you some somewhat rudimentary readouts on the power and the torque that it makes, and the highest output I've seen on my motor is just shy of about 80 horsepower, pushing around 4,000 RPM. That power figure was also made after I installed this Kiryakin air intake and these Kirker high-flow mufflers. Speaking of those Kirker slip-ons, let's go ahead and listen to a startup and idle and a couple revs right now. Some of you may have noticed that the seat on this bike is not the stock seat that came with it from the factory. And that's because that while the Street Glide is definitely a touring bike and it's built for comfort and it's built for long trips, the stock seat that comes on a Street Glide, as far as the passenger is concerned, is not quite what it needs to be. So, I went online and I just asked around in one of the local motorcycle groups if anybody had a seat off of an Ultra Classic or Ultra Limited, one of the bigger Ultra bikes, that they would be willing to part with. And sure enough, there was a gentleman in the area who had a Road Glide Ultra with the stock seat that he no longer wanted to use. And so for 60 bucks, I was able to get this factory plush Ultra seat instead of having to shell out hundreds of dollars for a Saddleman or another one of those handmade ultra luxury seats. If you're looking for a more comfortable seat option, you don't necessarily have to drop several $100s. There might be a guy in your neighborhood who's got a seat off of an Ultra that he's willing to let go for free, if not cheap. And while we're thinking about passenger comfort, my favorite design feature of this Harley-Davidson Street Glide is the quick detach passenger seat and the quick detach luggage rack. The detachable parts are great for if you want to change up the lines and the look of your bike, or if last minute you might be adding a passenger, or you might decide you're going to go solo. There are various combinations between having the luggage rack or not having the rack, or having the seat back or not having the seat back, that you could choose between to figure out maybe what look is the one that you want to have when people pull up behind you. So while we're at the back of the bike, let's go ahead and take a look at these saddlebags. Now these are the same saddlebags that came standard on all touring bikes prior to 2014. They have two latches at the top that close to the back, so it's really easy to get in once you've got the lid off. The issue can be getting the lids on and off and locked and unlocked if you've only got one hand available, and if you're packing for a trip or maybe you've just come out of the grocery store, sometimes you're not going to have both hands available to open and close the saddlebags. One feature of the Project Rushmore touring bikes, which were released in 2014 and after, is the redesign of the saddlebag open and close mechanism, the one-touch system, which is just a latch on the inside of the saddlebag that you pull up with one finger on to open, and they close with one hand as well. These saddlebags are the feature that make this bike truly a practical daily driver. There have been numerous times when Haley and I are trying to get ready to put together dinner, we realize we're missing a couple things. And so I will jump on the Harley, head on up to Publix, and 25 minutes later, I'm back with the necessary ingredients that we needed, and I didn't even need to pull out the car. And if what we needed isn't going to fit inside the saddlebag, I have been known to bring a couple bungee cords with me and strap up a bag of dog food to the seat just to get it home. So that concludes our walk around of this 2013 Harley-Davidson Street Glide. Now it's time to get it out on the road and see how she rides. So we are on Harley-Davidson 2013 Street Glide, and one of the first things you notice about getting on this bike, especially if you've never been on a touring bike, is just the sheer size of it. And you definitely feel it just in the physical experience of riding the bike, but you don't really feel it as far as the motion and the speed and the movement goes, because that 103 has got a ton of torque pretty much from the get-go. You know, when I'm on this bike and it's got a full tank of gas, the whole unit, myself included, we run over 900 pounds. This is not a small motorcycle, and it doesn't move like a small motorcycle, but it's not unruly. It's not a brick. It's not a boat. You can ride. You can move. I won't go so far as to say that it's nimble by any means, and you certainly can't just whip it around. But if there's a place you need to get, or a particularly detailed maneuver you need to execute, you definitely can. The Street Glide's going to give you the maneuverability to do that. The other thing you notice is how comfortable it is. I've already mentioned how comfortable this seat is. I've done hundreds of miles at a time on this seat and never had a problem with the seat itself. I really enjoyed the stock handlebars, but I love these mini apes even more, just because exactly where my fists would fall if I were to kind of just put them out in front of me, that's exactly where my grips are. And that's all because of these 10-inch mini apes that I was able to put on. The riding action and experience as far as the controls go is great. The clutch is not heavy. The clutch movement, clutch action are very smooth, very low effort. So is the throttle. The throttle, I'm in a higher gear than I would have wanted for a pull there, but the throttle moves easily. The throttle is very responsive. Now I will say, throttle response is also reflective of the tune I've got through that Vance & Hines FP3 on this particular bike. So from, stock from the factory, throttle response is going to be different, exhaust note is going to be different, what have you. But generally speaking, the experience of riding just about any street glide or electric glide is going to be really similar, because they aren't dissimilar bikes. They're practically the same bike. But if you didn't want that full chunky look of the full dress bagger prior to 2006, you'd have to get either a detachable tour bike, or you would just have to decide to uninstall the tour pack by itself, which is not necessarily difficult, but it didn't. You know, it's not something you can just do in 5 minutes. The quick detach, you can do in about 10 seconds. And that is why it's my favorite feature on this bike. I love having floorboards. I have foot pegs on the dyna. And the footboards do make a huge difference. I didn't talk about them on my walk around, but I do have highway pegs on the crash bar, which are great just for added flexibility as far as where to rest your feet. Your feet do get restless on longer rides. You know, your knees start wondering when they're going to move again. Your hips get stuck at a certain angle. So it is nice to be able to put your feet up and find it. There's really minimal vibration for both the seat and the handlebars. I would say the spot where I experience most vibration is probably the pedal boards, and I would assume that if I just spent the money to get some aftermarket pedal boards, maybe with some better shock absorption, it would be a different experience. So an important thing to remember, if you test ride or ever ride one of these, or if you ever watch or read a review of a touring bike, is to remember it is a touring bike. Right? This bike, and Harleys generally speaking, are not built for speed. I'm not going to take this to a drag strip. I'm not going to, you know, go try and race some CBRs or sport bikes or what have you, because that's not what this bike is meant to do. This bike is meant for long trips, comfortably done for two people. That's what this bike is about. Here we are. I'm going to get us a little 0 to 60 action. Okay. Here is 0, and we're going to start now. Now. That was 60. Woo. So, superbike speed, not even close. But Lazy's power, not even a little bit. I'd imagine that was somewhere between 5 and 6 seconds. I'm certainly not going to go win any Grand Prix, but if I need to pass on the interstate, if I need to get through an intersection quickly, if I need that extra kick of torque to maybe make that light, I've got it. So the moral of the story is, there is power, there is fun to be had, and you can do it comfortably. And you can do it for hours and hours and hours at a time. And that concludes my review of this 2013 Harley-Davidson Street Glide, one of Harley's best offerings in my opinion. If this video was helpful to you or interesting, be sure to leave a like and hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of Harley-Davidson's offerings and what you would do to this 2013 Street Glide if it suddenly showed up in your garage. I'm Mason, the two-wheel teacher. I'll see you on the road.